Now it's time to plug in the power connectors, so that each component that needs power will receive it from the power supply unit. Take a look at your labels on your original power supply as a reminder of which components need power, which power connectors should be used, and their orientation. Most connectors are keyed, meaning that they can only be inserted the correct way. This is true unless one is pushed in with extreme force. All connectors should plug in quite easily. If you have to use extreme force, you're either trying to plug the connector in the wrong way round, or you're using the wrong connector. Let's go through some of the power connectors that are often used. Your motherboard, which is the main circuit board inside your computer, is most likely to use either a 20-pin or a 24-pin power connector. Mine has 24 pins. If your motherboard uses a 24-pin connector, you can plug this in as it is. My motherboard requires a 20-pin connector. In this instance, 4 pins can be separated from the main block. I can now plug it in. Both 20-pin and 24-pin connectors are keyed, so they can only be plugged in the correct way. These power connectors are also keyed. You can see that it's keyed by the fact that 2 corners are square and 2 are rounded off. So it can only be plugged in the correct way, unless extreme force is used to plug it in the wrong way. I need to use this type of connector for my DVD drive. My original power connector that was previously plugged into my DVD drive has 4 wires connected to it. Sometimes these ones look like they have 8 wires. This is only because one leads on to another. All of these connectors here are the same as my original, and all of them have 4 wires, so any one of them are fine to use for my drive. So I will line up the square and rounded off corners correctly and push it in. Your drive may use a different type of connector, such as this one shown here. These are also keyed, so that you can only plug it in the correct way unless extreme force is used. So we've already inserted the main power connector into the motherboard, but some motherboards require additional power. If your motherboard requires a 4-pin connector like this one, but your PSU only has an 8-pin connector, you can separate the 8-pin block into 2 blocks of 4. Once separated, one of the 2 blocks will now fit into a motherboard that uses one. Sometimes either block can be used. Both blocks are keyed, so that you cannot use the wrong one in your motherboard, and you cannot plug either in the wrong way round unless extreme force is used. This power connector is used by some floppy disk drives. Other components may use this type of connector as well. These are keyed to stop you from installing them the wrong way up. The trouble with these particular connectors is that they can be inserted the wrong way up with just a little extra force. If you do need to use one of these connectors, check the labels on your original PSU for the correct orientation. This fan inside my computer also needs power. There are only 2 wires that lead from the fan to its connector. Using a PSU power connector that has 4 wires is absolutely fine. This is the same type of power connector that was used for my DVD drive, so we already know that it's keyed. Finally, a PCI Express cable. Your computer may use one of these to give power to your graphics card. This one has 6 pins, some have 8. If yours has 8 pins, but you need a 6-pin connector, slide 2 pins away from the main block. Both 6 and 8 pin versions are keyed, so you cannot plug it in the wrong way round unless extreme force is used. PCI Express cables are nearly always labelled so that you can easily identify them. Your computer may use 1 or 2 other power connectors in addition to the ones that have just been shown. As you can see, some connectors can be separated into 2 blocks and some can't. Take your time plugging each one in. Remember that you only need to plug in the power connectors that your original PSU used. Plug them in firmly but carefully. They should all go in fairly easily. It is most likely that all of your connectors are keyed, so that you cannot plug them in the wrong way round. Double check each connector's orientation as you go by looking at the labels on your original PSU, just in case one of them are not keyed. Next, make sure that all of the cables or wires are not touching any fans inside your computer case. If necessary, tie them away from any fans in case they stop one from spinning round. Cable ties are good for this. You can now place the computer case panels back on in the reverse order that you took them off and screw or clip them into place. Without inserting the computer's main power cable, insert all other cables that were originally plugged into your computer's case. The last cable inserted should be the power cable. If you have a switch next to the power cable, press it to the on position. Plug the other end of the power cable into the mains wall outlet. Don't forget to plug in all other peripherals, such as your monitor, speakers and printer. You can now turn your computer back on. This completes replacing a PSU. Thanks for watching this video on how to replace a power supply unit.